Hey, 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 how you doing? Hello, it's welcome to the Tarot Flow Show. We are here, and I am so happy to be doing a little intimate session today with someone who I am getting to know after a long period of time. And it's so interesting to get to meet people again after having gone to school with them, for example. And we both went to Hollywood High School. And this is someone who I just, when you hear more about their lives, you're just like so in awe of not only their accomplishments, but their humility and their depth. And so that's the intro I have for our special guest today, who is a photographer and a graphic artist and an artist, and from a family of musicians and Holocaust survivors and all kinds of things. And he's a firefighter for more than 40 years and an EMT. And he's witnessed a lot in his life, everybody. And he's a community leader, and he's led our little group of high school people to stay together and figure out who's alive and who is not, and all of this. And he's our friend Sandy Korda. So I want to welcome Sandy Korda today. Thank you for joining us, Sandy. Yay, Sandy Korda. And to accompany us in this lovely journey of the reading today is Kefri Skarabus from Stockholm, Sweden. He is our savant. He's a high-level guy, but he's also pretty deep into the high-level guy in the government, actually, in terms of his day job, so to speak, in terms of holding it down like we have all managed to do and make a life in this world, but also to explore the esoteric fields. And that is Kefri Skarabus. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Alison.
Appreciate your being here. And Sandy, I am so glad that you're taking the time. You've had a wrenching week. I want to acknowledge that you're joining us and willing to join us after being quite tired and having quite a lot of draining experiences. But we talked like this might be a little therapeutic. Why not? Why not? And he was game for it. And I so admire that and so appreciate it. So this is what we're going to do today. After we talk to Sandy a bit, going to see a little bit about his background in tarot. And he was able to visually call up one of the cards in a conversation. So this isn't his first go round, I'm predicting. And so we're going to talk about a focus card, and then we'll make a few connections to that focus card. You can pick the card. Maybe it depends on the card you want. You named one already, but let's see which one you'll pick to be for us to unpack as a little trio today. And then for your consideration, everybody, we're going to do a tarot reading, and it's going to look like this. We're going to very quickly see no, it's not. This is me. This is you. This is all of us, the Fool. We're going to be looking at some images of the major arcana. And we're just doing this as a quickie tour because our guest does not need an introduction to these images. You should know, if this is your first time seeing these images, that these are quite archetypal. They are our human little tiny puny attempt to represent something larger in the consciousness of humans. And here are the suits represented here of the other half, or the other like 2/3, a little bit more than 2/3 of the tarot, which are the minor arcana, which are the ancestors of the playing cards that they use in Vegas and you might use to play gin rummy or whatever. So we have the wands and the cups and the swords and the pentacles. By the way, everybody, don't freak out over the pentacle. The pentacle is 5. These are the suits of the fire on the left. The water is next. The air is next. And then finally, we have the earth on the right. And how do we comprehend and apprehend and interact with the world? In our 5 senses. How do we interact in the 3D? With our 5 senses. We also have the other 3. They are kind of invisible. But in this realm, we're interacting through our 5 senses. That's the reason for the 5-pointed star, everybody. And so other people might say that it's the 4 elements, which we see right there: the fire, water, air, and earth, plus spirit above. That's another take on this. So here we can look at our wands just to know what we're dealing with here in the tarot. Looking at our cups. Looking at our swords. These are rough, aren't they? Because our mind can be a terrible thing. We can torture ourselves with our thoughts, because it's not infused with everything. It's just that thing, and so it's rough. The earth, you can see the earthiness in this one. And I'm sorry to be so quick about it, but any of our other videos heretofore can give you a bit more of a tour of those images. Our reading that we're going to do today is here, and let's just take a quick look at that. It's going to have 3 cards on the top, 3 cards on the bottom, and then we'll finish with a kind of augmenting card to see what extra additional sauce it gives us. And the top middle is going to be representing whatever it is that this is going to show us about on behalf of Sandy's betterment in the world and general help. It's whatever the lens is focusing on right now. You mentioned before that we're always with a lens focusing on one part of something. And so this is going to focus on a part of something, but it's quite fractal, or it's quite generative in that what's existing perhaps in one's thoughts or in one area of life might also exist within one's larger development or within some kind of practical thing that's going on the day-to-day. And so it kind of manifests, shall we say, on several different levels. Potentially, depends on how you look at it. But all again, we grew up in Hollywood. This is for your consideration, everybody. In Hollywood, you got the Oscars, the Emmys. Sandy's family has an Emmy. We've got the Oscars. And when it's time for people to vote on the Oscars, everywhere in Los Angeles is some billboard, which is a big advertisement for the general public to see driving down the street. And you will see, for your consideration, this actor in this movie. Vote for them. For your consideration, this sound man in this movie, wasn't it brilliant? For your consideration, the makeup and costuming in this movie. Whoever has budget to advertise, that's who's advertising. And so for your consideration, you can see how it flies or not is this reading here. And so on the top, you've got the issue, whatever it is that our lens is focusing on today. On the left, some cautionary advice. You might default to this, but maybe better do something different. And then on the right is some advice that it might be more helpful to follow. And then on the bottom is kind of an arc of time. You've got what happened first, what happened next, what happened after that. If we're looking at something that we're looking at kind of meta, from a distance. Or it could be something that you're engaged in right now. We're going to kind of just throw the cards down, see what happens, see what it says, see how you resonate with this. And then since you are familiar with these, you can offer your interpretation as well. But anybody, if you like to play with tarot cards, you know how hard it is to read for yourself. Why? Because we have this thing called psychological projection, and we have our own delusions and egos and things like that. And it makes it hard to analyze your own cards sometimes, unless you're quite the mature human who can really, really step back. And that is kind of a goal in life, is to get that wise about your own internal life. But let's go ahead and see what happens when Kef, and I'm leaving it to you, Kefri, today, if you don't mind. I could potentially bring in the other camera here. It's somewhere because I got my cards on the table. Trust me. But so does Kefri, and he's got the interface as well. So he's just going to cut to the chase here and throw these down because he's been listening to our chit chat beforehand and getting a feel for Sandy. And I'm a more mechanical reader, and I would say Kefri is a more intuitive reader. And so we'll go ahead with his choice of cards. Thank you, Kefri, for leading us through this.
Yeah, thank you, Alison. I am shuffling the card now, Sandy, and you can say stop where you want to stop the shuffling.
Stop.
There. And do you want to cut the deck, and how many times do you want to cut it?
Please cut the deck 3 times.
3 times, thank you. 1, 2, and 3. There we go. And we are going to look at the subject card now. And it is the Queen of Pentacles. And we are going to look at the past card, and it is the King of Cups. There we go. And the present card is the Five of Wands. And the future card is the Queen of Swords. And the cautionary and the advice not to do card is the Ace of Swords. And the advice card and which way to go is the Six of Wands. Sorry, the Six of Pentacles. And we wait with the seventh card, but it has already fallen from the deck when I was shuffling, and I have not turned it over yet.
So we're staring at this so people know what's happening. Sandy, with my process, I just usually start talking and it kind of just goes, I just try to get out of the way and talk and then see what gets said. It's me saying it, but I try to get out of the way in terms of my own projections, but you just never know. I think your concern is about your wife and this situation right now. You have a lot of her on the brain. That's part of what this is. It's also you are the caretaker of the world. This is about you. It's also about her, but it's you. Time is running out, not running out. I shouldn't say that, but time is a commodity and we feel it now. As we look at the arc of time, I think there's something that as you begin to acknowledge it, it will put you in a different direction than you've been, which is that Queen of Swords. It's not the time yet to make this decision. The decision is not yet formed. You have always been like on top of things with that King of Cups, but you know that King of Cups, the problem with the King of the Cups is that he controls his feelings, but he doesn't really feel them, but that's a necessity in your job. And so I think that right now you're having, with the Five, a lot of new and conflicting ideas that are coming in. They're not harmful ideas by any means, but they may be conflicting with each other. And I'll let Kefri speak to the Five. He has an interpretation on that. But there's the idea of a lot of brainstorming right now. And so I don't know if this is the present trajectory or if this is something that's kind of placed in the past. I'm just kind of tracing it right now. So the mastery of the feelings in the past, and also this idea of being on top of it, but also the King of Cups is also somebody who, and you're very rule driven, but there's something about the King of Cups that who feels himself a bit exempt sometimes. And so I don't know if that applies in your case, but that's some of what I have around that King of Cups. But it's also the bleed through of the personal and the professional, and how can that not happen when you're in such a service oriented profession? Because the professional is personal. You are your profession. Who are you? What is your identity? All of these things. And so I think you're moving perhaps from being this earthly, and the Queen is not a gendered thing, you know this, but an earthly caretaker to maybe you're in the process now as you go through this thing of the Five right now, which is a lot of these conflicting, as you process these things, I believe that you're going to be moving yourself back from a caretaker, and this is taking you from the different olams now. So we're going from the olam of the pentacles now to the swords, which would be to the cups, which would be to the, if you're familiar with Kabbalah at all, these different worlds in the Kabbalah. So the pentacles being our malkuth, with where we are now in this realm of the world now. that's where you've been living, and that's where you've been ruling, and that's where you've been caretaking and doing all these things. And I believe that now this new feeling that you're entertaining, which is a conflict with your values are in conflict, is for you. How can you in the future remove yourself so that you can still retain your role of authority and yet not have to engage so physically on the day-to-day that the Queen of Pentacles does? And so how can you take yourself back from the full physical engagement with this process and the full physical motherly caretaking of all these realms and move it back to a place where it's communication, it's authority? Maybe you're going to run for the mayor or the governor. I don't know, but there's something like there's something about you're taking a direction which is less nice than you have been all these years, where you can bring your niceness back to yourself and heal yourself for a while. Because when you sat down today, I wanted to just put a big blanket over you and do something, because it's rough what you do and what you've been going through with your family. And this is just the normal thing for you. So you're like, yeah, because it's a macho thing in that knife and gun club, but it takes a toll. And so your brain is bringing in all these conflicting value ideas right now, or I should say your soul is throwing down to you these wands of various different ideas of things that you need or want or value or want to have the time to do. And it means that you're going to have to divorce from some of the things that you've been engaged from, that Queen of Swords being a typical kind of divorce card. But I'm also, so I'm going with that interpretation, as well as the idea of removing yourself to a higher place where you still have authority and yet less responsibility for people's stupidity on the physical plane. And up in terms of the advice, now is not the time to make a decision yet, or whatever the decision is that you have already made, there's something about it that is just not quite yet. Pardon?
It's
okay.
not complete.
Okay. And it's going to take some balancing of, and what is that in that 6? Do you mind putting up that 6, please?
Yeah.
So this is in the place of Tiferet, in the middle of the tree.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the flow of money is, it's righteous. The guy on the left is getting the money. The guy on the right, maybe not, because he hasn't even patched his garment. It's going to flow out. So the fortune that comes to you is deserved. The fortune that comes to another, it may not come to them because it's not deserved. In this scenario here, meaning that whether you are borrowing or lending, the recommendation is right now to engage that. Feel no shame in any direction that money is flowing, because whatever it is, it's needed, it's righteous, it's deserved, and the virtue is in the process of the exchange, not in the positions of any of the people. The virtue is in the flow.
You're spot on.
Okay. Kefri may have some other things to say here, and I'm going to check something else. I'm going to exit from the camera for a moment, then I'll be right back.
Yeah. Thank you, Alison. I am looking at these cards, and all the court cards is not persons in your life, I would say, Sandy. It is sides of you, actually, as I see it. And there is a lot going on here, and it is also very much about duty, actually, and to conduct your mission. And that is also the 6 of Pentacles up there. And it is also in this card, when I try to go deeper, I have difficulties to go deeper in them, because it is like there is a message here that you are here and now, and you you perform what you need and conduct what you need as a life mission, actually. And there is something in the 5 of wands here in the present position, because they are actually, as I see this card, those people are, that team are trying to building something. And if we look at the card, we see that it is actually a pentacle they are trying to build, because all those wands can be arranged to a pentacle. And I think this is something that is in your life, that you want to build something and you want to create something. And going to the Ace of Swords card, that in the non-advice position, so to say, don't do this. It is like it's saying that what you are doing now is a sort of a trial and error process, and it should also be that, because it is building you at the same time, Sandy. And the Ace of Swords there say that this is not the final goal of this idea of yours. It is more than this is a trial and error process, and you are coming into it with emotions, with the King of Cups there, and you also feel that you are on top of your emotions and you can handle them even if it is difficult. And the Queen of Swords in the future position, I see more as this is the discipline that will be built in you, and you already have a lot of discipline to conduct what you are doing. But the Queen of Swords is also a feminine card, so it's like your feminine side is going to be more disciplined, as I see it, in the process of life. And looking at the 6 of Pentacles again, it is, as you have said, Alison, it is in the Sephira of Tiferet in the Tree of Life, and it is balancing, and it is also scales in that card, and you can also see it deeper, as you have already told us that you are a Mason, Sandy, and that card is very Masonic, actually, because that is also about, that is also about conducting your mission, so to speak. And that is what you are concentrating on all fields, I would say. And that is what the cards are saying also, that this is what you should go on doing. And there isn't anything saying here that this will be the result in the future and everything. It's more a result in you, of you building yourself, actually, that is in these cards. And we will look at the 7th card now, and it is the Empress card, actually. And the Empress card, I will put up that here. The Empress card in the Tree of Life is symbolizing the Hebrew letter of Dalet, and you already know that that is a door, actually. And the door is what is in this, I think, that there is an opening into something new that will come out of this building process in the 5 of Wands also, but it will also come by accepting it as a trial and error process. It will not be the final result that is important. It's the building process that is important, actually, for you, so to speak. And there isn't so much more in this. The Empress card has a lot to do also with growing things and letting things grow up, and it is connected to the planet of Venus, and that also takes us to the Sephira of Netzach, actually, in the Tree of Life, and also the number 7, actually, and that is also representing victory, we can say also, because that is also connected to the Chariot card that is has a keyword that is victory. So everything you do, I would say, Sandy, is very good, and it will result in something even if you don't plan it, or even if it doesn't turn out what you have planned. It will perhaps not turn out exactly in that, but this process is very good because it builds you up. And I think I'll stop there. Thank you.
So, anything come to mind when you take a look at that, Sandy?
Quite a few things.
And
There
of
are
course, this is since you gave us permission to record this, you are welcome to connect to this or not as you wish to share online. This can be a private process for you as well. I'm just offering the reading, so comment at will. And you can also have discretion if you don't want to put this up. We don't have to post it, so
this is fine.
thank you.
Every element that is up for interpretation as provided has been spot on. The timing, the subject matter, as I'm in my, I don't believe it, 65th year.
Isn't that crazy?
For those of us that have remained in touch with one another by way of Facebook or just by practice, having seen each other a couple of times a year in closer proximity, I am not comfortable with the visage in the mirror. I still see in my mind's eye a 18 to 22-year-old, 25-year-old who's experienced a lot. But I'd like to think what scars that we have are on the inside, not on the outside. But yeah, I look at every element that you've noted, and at 65, where many of my peers, our peers, have retired, I'm a public servant, and I will never be able to afford to retire. So I will continue to do what I'm doing until I can't do it. But in logistics, we always have plans A, B, C, and D. There's always an escape plan. So the 5 staffs trying to assemble something into the future. If plan B won't work, plan C might. If plan C won't, maybe C.5 will. So I'm certainly open to some things that we have in the works. So no, that this is, I went into this knowing enough about tarot to understand that it is all interpretive. But I'm impressed. This is spot on. Every element.
I'm so glad, and I hope it's useful as a point of contemplation. We'll have the recording up shortly, and then you maybe want to take a screenshot, or so you can lay out your own cards, perhaps to look at those. Sometimes I'll do that just to get some retrospect on it, or just have it on my screen, something like that. I appreciate your subjecting ourselves to this kind of scrutiny or play or whatever it may be, because it is somewhere between play and therapy and friendship and chit chat and for your consideration,
and trust.
Trust indeed.
you know, to bury yourself in an open forum like this, and then to accept the gift, that's a big deal.
And you have performed the big feat today, Sandy. I thank you. I thank you so much for this time together. I thank you for opening yourself up in that way. I thank you for being showing. Well, we had a chance, and we'll have a chance. So everybody, do please check out the Follow Your Road show, where we have Sandy on, which will be sometime after this exhausting period of time that is existing right now. And so we can learn about his amazing life and about interesting projects that I predict are going to perhaps change the trajectory for the future. And so we can also pay further homage to your life of service and dedication. And I honor you and appreciate you, and thank you so much for spending this time with us today, Sandy Korda. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Thank you, Jen. And Capri, thank you very much for.
Yeah, you're welcome, Sandy. Yeah,
this has been a sincere honor, and I very much appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll see you soon, I hope. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, sweetheart.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.